What's up, Misfit Nation? Welcome to another episode of the Misfit Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Matt the Misfit, and look at what we got here. A new, very surprising setup, you see. You're probably wondering yourself, well, what's NXT doing on here? Well, tonight was a very special night because tonight, for the first time since 2021, last year, we were back with the Tuesday Night Wars for one night only. NXT, obviously it's on their Tuesday night, time slot or day slot, whatever you want to call it. AEW was moved to Tuesday night for the MLB game that's happening on Wednesday tomorrow. Our both shows were really good. We had, I believe, three or four championship matches tonight on Dynamite. We had the final build for Halloween Havoc. I will be reviewing that show, and I will be doing the prediction show tomorrow for Halloween Havoc. We've seen major returns from the main roster on NXT. They're probably not staying. Maybe one is, depending on what happens on Saturday. We had a really fun match with Hikaru, Shida, and Toni Storm. We saw the return of Riho. We've seen Dalton Castle and Chris Jericho had a banger of a match. We've seen a scary bump with Hangman Page. We'll talk about Hangman Page in a little bit. The world title match between Moxley and Hangman. An incredible promo segment with William Regal and MJF. We got the main event for Full Gear finally announced rather. We had a really fun women's match on NXT with Rhea Ripley and Roxanne Perez. We had an awkward, somewhat funny main event segment with Kevin Owens, the KO show, and all of that good stuff. Shinsuke Nakamura returned from Japan after he was in Japan for the funeral of Antonio Inoki. He came back to NXT for one night. All that good stuff. I'm going to go through NXT last because the major news is coming out of AEW tonight. Hangman Page possibly suffers a concussion during his match with AEW World Champion Jon Moxley in the AEW World Title match. The match ended via rough stoppage. We'll talk about that when we get to that. But AEW Dynamite opened with a trios match, trios tag title match. Death Triangle defeated Best Friends. A really fun opening match. I'm just kind of over them wrestling each other. Like, I'm just at the point where I want more challenges for Death Triangle. Hopefully move on from that. This is also coming off of Orange Cassidy's win over Pac last week, winning the All-Atlantic Championship. So the match starts. Pac starts charging against Orange Cassidy because he has a vendetta after what happened last week. Hits him with a big boot while Orange Cassidy's on the ring apron. But it's like a focus on Trent leads him to being dropped with a clothesline. Lucha Brothers then come in, start taking out the Best Friends, watching Chuck Taylor into Trent, who was in the corner in his own side. Phoenix follows it up with a senton. He continues the sack on Trent Seven. It backfires on as the tag team ends up taking him down. That would be Trent and I almost said Trent and Brother. Trent and Chuck Taylor. The champions, Death Triangle that is, send their challengers to the outside and take flight afterwards to drop everyone on the outside who's on the outside, which is the rest of the Best Friends. Back inside the ring, Orange Cassidy gets a quick shot, or Pac gets a quick shot in, or Ray Phoenix gets a quick shot in on Orange Cassidy before triple drop kick. Takes out the All-Atlantic champion, who gets isolated in their corner and nails the chops. Pac then tries the suplex Cassidy but the two tag tandems that is, get involved and ends up with a huge spot as everyone ends up on the mat. So I'm assuming that's like one of the Tower of Doom as they call it. Each man takes each other out with chains of events, with Trent Beretta, the last man standing after a DDT to Rey Fenix. Then he throws Pac outside the ring, only to be hit by a double super kick. And then the Lucha Brothers hold on to Orange Cassidy, allowing Pac to nail him with a drop kick. Death Triangle then hits a fantastic triple T move on Orange Cassidy, but the best friends break up the pinfall. They drop Penta with the triple team as best friends would help Orange Cassidy climb up on the. It's like an elevated splash. It's a really thing. It's really hard to actually talk about. It's really confusing. Pac breaks that up. He tries to use the hammer. The ring bell hammer thing that's at ringside. He takes it from the timekeeper's area. Rey Fenix knows that he grabs it from Pac. They start having a little more words, a little tension between the two. Then Orange Cassidy catches Pac with a roll up. They both end up tagging in their partners. Penta looks for the Canadian Destroyer on Trent 7, but Trent Beretta. Different Trent. He reverses, and Chuck Taylor plants him in the ring, only for the pinfall attempt to be broken up again. Rey Fenix hits a double cutter on Taylor, Chuck Taylor that is, and he plants him on for the win, basically. So then he plants one on Trent Beretta for the retain for the win. So there you go. We have the winners of that match. Death Triangle retain. A little bit of a really fun opening match. You also had a little bit of Death Triangle kind of not getting along a little bit, and then later on they do end up getting get a little bit of a they start getting along. Basically, it's an interesting story they're telling with Pac. Maybe will Pac turn on Death Triangle? Who knows? Pac is like much better as a heel, but people love Pac. Then we got Tony Schiavone backstage with Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Reba. They're not happy about tonight's title match. Why not? I mean, it's Hikaru, Shida, and Toni Storm. They promised by the end of the year, one of them is going to be holding gold. Probably going to be. I want it to be Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter is great. Obviously, over. They do. What the funny thing is about it is Reba and or not Rebel. Excuse me. They don't want to call her Reba. Rebel. It's the DMD thing with Britt Baker. Jamie Hayter does not. Probably because she's tired of it. Speaking of the Women's Championship match, Toni Storm defends the AEW Women's Championship against Hikaru Shida. This was actually a fun match. I was looking forward to this match. These two have had great chemistry with each other in the past. This is their first one-on-one meeting in a very long time. Their first one-on-one meeting in AEW. The women, this is not even an AEW. This is not a Ring of Honor World title, and this is not a Ring of Honor match. But they shook their hands. They did their own code of honor. They waste no time, get down to business, start chopping each other back and forth. Shida hits a shoulder tackle on yeah. So Toni Storm hits a shoulder tackle on Shida to respond with a drop kick. Shida responds with the drop kick. Toni Storm manages to send Shida out to the floor with a hip attack. Maybe it depends. Toni Storm, when she hits those hip attacks, she really comes at you with those hip attacks. Okay, you must talk about Naomi's crappy maneuver of a finish. Why not take a page out of Toni Storm with the hip attacks? Okay. So like I said, she takes out Shida to the floor with a hip attack. Back inside the ring with the aggression rising as both of them, between both of them as Storm gets some shots in before launching Shida to the mat by her hair. Two start going back and forth with forearm strikes with Shida bringing Toni in with a Hurricane Rana, beautiful Hurricane Rana, which allows for a jumping knee. I love Shida's jumping knee. It's like right in the face, and it's great. In the corner, she beats down she starts beating down the champion with the right hands in the corner, coming down with a missile drop kick for good measure. Like I said, Shida's drop kicks are incredible. Toni comes back with a forearm, shot of her own. Once again, the two slug it out. Toni Storm hits a headbutt on Shida, but Shida replies with a enziguri of her own. Both end up in getting up on the mat. The two ladies then start heading to turnbuckle. Several headbutts from Shida sends Toni Storm down to the mat, followed by a meteor, planting her down to the ring once again. But getting a near fall. However, Toni Storm avoids the next move, hits a beautiful German suplex. I love Tony's Germans. I between the women when it comes to women and German suplexes, top three I put in there is Toni Storm's, not in any particular order, but Toni Storm, Maya Iwatani, and Io Shirai. Well, I'd also throw in Asuka too, because she does some really good German suplexes. So like I said, Toni hits the German suplex and then hip attack in the corner. Another one that is, whatever Storm was planning next is blocked by Shida. She plants the champion down but gets a near fall for herself. The two go back and forth with roll ups, but neither get the win, as neither of them gets the win. As Toni Storm hits another German suplex with a bridge, which Shida kicks out. Then Storm hits the forearm strikes, and then hits Storm Zero to retain. Fun little match between Shida and Storm. After the match, Jamie Hayter and Rebel come from the crowd, start attacking Toni Storm. Out comes Britt Baker, who is coming out the ring entranceway with a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey on. Heat. Saraya then charges down to the ring. She starts attacking Britt Baker. So it looks like we're going to get Britt Baker versus Saraya at Full Gear. And while that's going on, out comes the returning Riho, who starts doing high cross bodies and taking out Rebel and Jamie Hayter. So I'm assuming at the pay-per-view, it's probably either not I don't know. I'm at the pay-per-view, so Britt Baker's probably going to be facing Saraya at Full Gear. I don't know what they're going to do with Toni Storm at the pay-per-view. I don't know if Thunder Rosa is going to be back in time. If it's not, it's probably going to be Riho, which is fine with me, because Riho versus Toni Storm sounds like a good old time. Next up, you got a video package. Them showing Wardlow and Samoa Joe talk about the Kingdom, who made their debut on Dynamite. Or not Dynamite, on Rampage last Friday. Making it clear that they have no problem taking them out. Raquel's on the other channel. Renee Paquette, who just debuted for AEW last week, is then shown with FTR doing an interview, backstage interview. They're talking about the big target they have on their back. They want the AEW World Tag Team titles. They're interrupted by Swerve and Our Glory. They make it clear that they deserve a title shot. Swerve, that is, makes it clear that they deserve a title shot. Keith Lee calms his partner down. They say that they both deserve the shot. And Dax Harwood would suggest the two of them have a match to see the number one contenders are. So next week is going to be FTR versus Swerve Our Glory. That's going to hump so much humps. I'm excited for it. Next week's show is stacked. I cannot wait for next week's show. Jay Lethal is shown backstage. He wants a rematch with Darby Allin. Darby Allin agrees. And then he says he'll beat him again and again and again and again. Sanjay Dutt then tries to say he knows somebody who knows the weakness of Darby Allin. Curious to know who that is. They start beating Darby Allin up, and they forge him into between the garage door and the floor. Lethal then implies figure four on the other side. I think it's on the other side. On Darby, so he can't escape. Then we got this incredible promo between William Regal and MJF. So Tony Schiavone is in the ring with William Regal, but before he starts speaking, out comes MJF. MJF claims he's not here to fight, so he tells Regal to put the brass knuckles away. So here's how this works here. MJF talks about being an extra at WWE when he was 19, as he packed his best gear and went to Barclays Center. This is the infamous night in MJF's career where he played a security guard, walking Samoa Joe to the ring at the first takeover, Brooklyn 2, and that was when Nakamura won the NXT Championship from Samoa Joe. The extras were put together, were spoken to, as MJF continues, by none other than William Regal. They told him that they were having tryout matches. MJF recalls some of the people who were watching on. He named Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko, and William Regal as the names. MJF recalls some of the people, like I just mentioned that. He was shaking and he knew he was fighting for his life. Because wrestling is his life, is what he said. Regal told MJF to go to a room and told him to sell himself on MJF as a character. MJF did that. Claimed he did that. He said that Regal's jaw was on the floor and said, "Kid, I'm going to get you a job here today." Then asked how old MJF was, and replied with 19. Regal replied he said he's much too young. Regal gave him hope and said that he doesn't always have to put his name. He doesn't always put his name on people when they do get jobs. When they they get jobs. He said that Max agreed and said that he personally would put his name on that or something along like that. Something verbatim to that. Regal wanted a match and a promo from MJF every month, but after month 3, Regal sent him another. He sent Regal another. Regal told him that he was a busy man and said the game has changed as WWE hires the best talent. When MJF is one of them, then he should send him his stuff. The matches and promos that Regal told MJF to send. MJF tells Regal he killed MJF's dream. Every time he reads that email, he wanted to quit wrestling. Maybe he wanted to off himself. I'm not going to say that on air. MJF says Regal is now an sad old man who got fired and snuck into his company by leaning on talent who were better than him. Meanwhile, he's MJF. He's a generational talent. And WWE would take, like I said, he didn't say WWE by name, but he was basically talking about WWE when he said this. Would take several human lives to sign him away. MJF says he still reads the email every day to give him a laugh. Regal has become nothing more than a joke, and now MJF is going to become AEW World Champion. Regal gets on the mic, starts getting booed. Regal talks about being 16, having to fight men to get into this industry. He says that he saw someone who was going to be a big star in MJF. He wanted to light a fire underneath him, and he said if that email is what it took to light that fire, then to get him to this place and light that fire, then he's at it easy. He's mastered something which Regal told him to practice. He could see the talent on the mic back then. Regal says anyone who steps in between these ropes is fair game, but you don't put your hands on someone like Toni Schiavone. And the problem that MJF let him down by taking shortcuts, basically talking about the stuff with Wardlow and you got the Firm coming out here to doing his battles for him, all that stuff. So Regal gives a chance turns around to give MJF a chance to hit him from behind. He doesn't do it. So Regal leaves out of the ring. And MJF is like hurt a little bit and are confused by that whole thing. That was a great segment. Probably promo of the year, maybe best segment in Dynamite in a very long time, if I'm being honest. I may say that it's probably a better segment than what MJF did after Double or Nothing. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when it comes to that. Next up, we get Chris Jericho defeating Dalton Castle for the Ring of Honor World Championship. For that, we had Renee Paquette with the Acclaim saying on Friday it will be titles versus trademarks. They're gonna beat up Mark Sterling and his goons. Daniel, and then we go into another thing with Daniel Bryan Daniels, and I tried to say Daniel Garcia for some reason. Explains to Renee that losing to Chris Jericho wasn't ideal because this ties into the Ring of Honor World Title match. He has high hopes for He had high hopes for Garcia. He believes that he could surpass him. He believes he could surpass what he could do from a technical standpoint, but with the right guidance, he could be one of the best wrestlers in the world. Which Wheeler Yuta doesn't seem to appreciate hearing. He asked Brian how he's supposed to be surprised about what happened last week. He said when he bled for Blackpool Combat Club, he thought it meant something. Clearly it doesn't. So he starts walking off. That's how that thing holds. This whole thing with Blackpool Combat Club is starting to. I'm starting to being intrigued what's going on here. So Chris Jericho defeats Dalton Castle for the Ring of Honor World, or to retain the Ring of Honor World Championship. Somewhere down the match, start of the match, we try to do the quote and honor stuff, and he does. And Dalton Castle, who's very entertaining and very good at being a pro wrestler, he does the middle finger at Chris Jericho and says "fuck you," basically. This was a fun match. Nothing like too much. Chris Jericho's killing it with this Ring of Honor stuff he's doing. I probably won't put him on par with Jericho as Wrestler of the Year. Not yet, at least. I'm enjoying what Moxley's doing a little bit more than what Jericho's doing as a character wise. I don't care what Jericho's doing as character wise, but wrestling wise, Jericho's doing some good stuff. Speaking of Jericho signed a 3-year extension with AEW. He'll be sticking around for 3 more years. I believe it's 2025 or 2026, something along the line. He'll be with the company until then. Near the end, Jericho wins with the Judas effect, cleanly to win. There, like I said, fun little match. Nothing too much to write at home about at one point. Jake Hager tries to get involved. He gets beat up by the boys. The boys and Dalton Castle are also the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team champions. So, I put on Twitter, I said Jake Hager's like the big ass version of Orange Cassidy, less charisma, and no wrestling skills. After the match, he tells everyone to honor him, takes out champions and ring announcers and even commentators. So he starts walking up to Ian Riccaboni. They grab him. We're going to beat him up with the former Ring of Honor and AECW World Champion Jerry Lynn comes out to make a save. However, Jericho hits him with a low blow, then tombstones Jerry Lynn onto the Ring of Honor World Title. I don't know if Jerry Lynn's going to come out of retirement or not, but we're going to find out where they're going to go with that. So for next week's show, we have Riho versus Jamie Hayter, Bryan Danielson versus Sammy Guevara, Noble and Contenders match for the AEW Tag Team titles, Swerve and Glory versus FTR, and I believe there's another tag team match that was announced for next week, which I forgot, missed what it was. Anyway, that's next week's show for next week. Main event time, Jon Moxley defends against Hangman Page for the AEW World Championship. So this match came out swinging at first. While Moxley is making his way to the ring, Hangman goes out to the ring, goes out to the crowd, hits a freaking moonsault off the balcony. I feel like he was watching Io Shirai matches beforehand, and I tweeted out a gif of Io jumping off a balcony onto Penta Gon Jr. into the ring and whatnot. They go back into the ring. Moxley charges through the ropes with a tope suicida, sends Hangman into the barricade, and the match eventually officially begins. Despite that, they immediately go back to the floor, because why not? Moxley's already bleeding at this point, because it's a Moxley match. You know, of course he is. Moxley is launched into steel steps. Back inside the ring go the two men. They start chopping each other back and forth, with some forearm strikes. Gets charged into the turnbuckle. The champion responds with a lariat into the corner with the right hand, and bite to the hand before hitting a superplex. Page then kicks out. Moxley then grabs his arms and starts stomping on the challenger. The two end up on the ring apron. Page connects with a dead eye, which looks nasty. I love that move. I want that move in the next WWE game or in any video game, because dead eye is really cool. Page locks in the single Boston Crab. The single leg Boston Crab, that is. But the champion rolls out and implies a step over choke. Page gets to the rope to break up that submission move. The two head to the top rope as Page connects with a fallaway slam, but only brings a near fall. Brings Page a near fall. Moxley looks for a German suplex, but Page lands on his feet and hits lariat. Page has no time to relax as he hits gets dropped with a King Kong lariat, which turns him inside out. And that is where the match ends right there, because Page lands on his head. This is one of those flips to make it seem like it's more devastating than it is. Lands directly on his head, and the referee stops the match. They check on Page, brings in Dr. Sampson. They start looking at him, and then the referee just stops the match. But looks like both PW and Pro Wrestling Torch, out of them, put out and confirmed that Hangman Page is legitimately injured, and the referee match stoppage was not planned. So, and what was going on here is they kept going to the commentators, because they weren't showing this. The rest of what was going on camera. We heard that a stretcher was getting brought out for Page, and here's what Fightful said. So Fightful was told by AEW sources, Page was taken to a local hospital to be checked on. He said, this is from Sean Ross Sapp, who was there live tonight. Here's hoping for the best of him. The end of Dynamite was said to be improvised, as you can imagine. Then he followed that up with those we've heard from said that Page is responsive and stable. We'll have additional health updates on Page himself. We'll leave the additional health updates to Page himself for AEW until a statement should be coming soon. But those look like Hangman Page did suffer a concussion of some sort. The ref stoppage was not planned. And they had a kill time. So the only way they were able to kill time here was because at one point in the match they go to the skybox and MJF is no longer there. There's a brief break going on. Moxley says he hopes and prays that Hangman recovers so he can walk again and perform for the fans, and also be be able to hold his child and whatnot and all that stuff. So Moxley's that kind of dude. He says this is a dangerous game. You have to have guts to play it. As you see, you need to put everything on the line. Moxley says that he saw MJF talk shit earlier. He usually allows it. So if he wants to prove himself, why doesn't he come out here right now? And you hear MJF has music hit. MJF charges the ring with a referee in hand, which I think was Paul Turner. He pushes Regal. Then he pushes the hand of Regal. He hopes to get on the microphone. He says he doesn't. So basically, so the match never actually takes place here, and then MJF gets on the microphone. It says he doesn't want Moxley at 50%. He wants to beat him. So there's no question whether or not he has done it at 100%, 110%, and whatnot. He wants to beat him clean and whatnot. Basically, he wants to earn it, and he cashes in at Full Gear. So it's gonna be MJF versus MJF tells Regal that this is the first time in his miserable life he's going to earn it. Moxley then responds and says MJF will earn the heel of his boot in his mouth and he will shit out his teeth. Goddamn Moxley. With a date of destiny, he will show the world that getting into the ring with Jon Moxley is a dangerous thing to do. So that's what's going to happen there. It's going to be MJF versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship at Full Gear. There's your Full Gear main event. Rampage, I'm not really interested in Rampage. It's going to happen on Friday. Whatever. And while we're at it, AEW just posted this. This happened because this happened actually while I was recording. So AEW tweeted out, Hangman Page was taken tonight to a local person by medical to a Cincinnati trauma center and was diagnosed with a concussion. He was discharged and will remain in AEW's concussion protocol. But will remain in AEW's concussion protocol. AEW and Hangman Page are grateful for the extended response and care of staff and local personnel, and are appreciative of the love and support of fans from everywhere. That was from AEW. Well wishes to Hangman Page. Hopefully he comes back soon and gets another crack at the AEW Championship. That's some scary stuff to happen, but hopefully Hangman's all right. It was scary to see. I was trying to find out if this was the first time anything like this happened in AEW. That is, I don't remember a match in AEW ending, even in a title match, ending in a referee stoppage. So, shout out to Hangman Page. Hope he's doing all right. And come back soon, and come back safely. That was AEW Dynamite. Now we're gonna go through NXT. NXT. I watched it for the first time in like forever, and I enjoyed this week's episode of NXT. This was the go home episode for Halloween Havoc. We had some things happen on the show, which is really awkward. We've seen an interesting closing moment of the show where Austin Theory comes out with a Money in the Bank briefcase. I will talk about that at the end of the show, and we'll talk more about that on the Halloween Havoc prediction show for tomorrow. So the show started with Roxanne Perez, and so Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade last week had this thing called the Pick Your Poison match, where they chose their opponents for because they appeared on Raw and SmackDown this past week to pick their opponents, pick their rivals' opponents for NXT tonight. Cora Jade chose Rhea Ripley, and Roxanne Perez chose Raquel Gonzalez, or Raquel Rodriguez, whatever you want to call her. What opened here was Rhea Ripley versus Roxanne Perez in a really fun opening match. This is Rhea Ripley's first TV match back since July, where she was supposed to take on. I was it June or July. It was one of those two where she was supposed to challenge. So Rhea Ripley won a number one contenders 5-way match for Bianca Belair's women's championship at Money in the Bank. During that, she won the match, but during that match, she suffered a concussion of some sort and has been out of action for months. This was her first match back on television. She did return to the ring at a house show when she teamed with Damian Priest to take on Dolph Ziggler and Nikki ASH. But this match was actually fun. I enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. The bell rings, the two lock up. The NXT crowd's fully behind Judgment Day here and Rhea Ripley, because, it's Rhea Ripley. How are you not going to be behind Rhea Ripley? Because she's great. Ripley sends Roxanne Perez out to the ring before Perez gets back in. They start exchanging submission moves. Roxanne looks to hit a head scissors takedown, but Rhea Ripley blocks it because she's a badass. Roxanne starts hitting a few chops on Rhea Ripley before Rhea takes her down with a headbutt and a vicious clothesline because, again, Rhea's badass. Roxanne delivers a series of forearms. Rhea fires her back with a kick to Roxanne's shin. Roxanne sends Rhea to the outside and follows her. She follows her out there. She looks to go out flying, but Rhea catches her and sends her face into the ring apron because that's a nasty move. They go to break. It was the first commercial break of this show. Back from break, Rhea starts handing right hands to the back of Roxanne's head. Roxanne fires back with a few kicks of her own to Rhea's thigh. Then she goes for a Russian leg sweep. Rhea counters the move and hits. And Perez delivers with an uppercut. She managed to send Rhea into the ring post. Then she takes her down with a tope suicida. The women ascended to the top rope before Roxanne hits a. I'm not even going to be able to pronounce that. It's a move. It's something from the top rope. The two women ascend to the top rope before Roxanne hits a beautiful move off the top rope. Goes for the pin, but Rhea kicks out. Rhea looks for the riptide. Roxanne escapes, locks in the top rocks. Dominic distracts Roxanne on the outside, allowing Rhea to hit a headbutt, followed up by the riptide for the win. Fun little match. Enjoyed the first match of the night. Roxanne Perez is great. I have high hopes for her on the main roster because I think she's gonna go to the main roster sooner than anybody thinks. Rhea Ripley is fantastic. She hasn't really missed a step since being out of the ring. Glad that she's back in the ring. Backstage, we go to the OC and Cameron Grimes to the moon. They're preparing for the match. Cameron Grimes says that he has the hottest tag team in the business in his corner tonight. Before Gallows says that they're too sweet. Gallows asks why they think they accepted his offer in the first place. Grimes starts, wants cash in front of the face of Anderson and Gallows. Anderson says, and then they want to go to the moon. Out comes Angelo Dawkins and Stax heading to the ring. Stax has a match here. Angelo says that tonight's big night. He tells Stax that he's looking strong. He says before he introduces Stax's opponent, the match he is about to earn is about earning respect and proving himself. Basically proving itself to Angelo. I must say Angelo Dawkins. Tony D'Angelo. I don't know why I almost say Angelo Dawkins for. Says the mystery opponent says will be announced after the commercial. Will be introduced after the commercial break. They go back from break. They go to a backstage segment with Grayson Waller and Mackenzie Mitchell. Waller says that everyone keeps forgetting that he beat Apollo Crews and he tells everyone that when he would kick Cruz out of NXT. Chucky, because Chucky, the whole the Halloween Havoc thing, also Chucky's on the USA Network. I believe Chucky follows NXT afterwards. I could be wrong. He's on the screen, tells him to shut his stupid mouth while he says some of the things, other foul language. He announces the match against Apollo Crews at Halloween Havoc will now be a spin the wheel, make the deal. Whatever that means, who knows? He gives a lot of stipulation options, so we'll find out what that is. Back at ringside, Stack's mystery opponent hits the ring. It's Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke Nakamura is back in NXT for one night only. And that man, and it's almost like that man never left, because the moment he came out there, the crowd lost their shit and they started singing his song. So happy to see Nakamura back. So we get next. We get Stacks versus Shinsuke. The bell rings. This match was not very long. This is basically the showcase. To me, I felt this was more to showcase how badass Nakamura is. Bell rings. Stacks delivers a kick to Nakamura's midsection. Nakamura fires back with a jumping knee. Then goes for a pin, but Stacks kicks out. Nakamura slams Stacks into the mat, then fires back for several kicks. Stacks hits a few forearms, then locks it in a chin lock. Nakamura escapes, hits Stack with a kick to the chest. Then he does his incredible his beautiful sliding German suplex. Goes for the pin, but Stacks kicks out. Nakamura locks on the armbar. Stacks escapes. Nakamura lands a kick to the head, sends him to the outside with a Kinshasa, then tosses him back in hits him with a second Kinshasa for the win. Shinsuke Nakamura is back. I wouldn't mind seeing Nakamura stick around in NXT on Tuesday nights. Probably gets more eyes to that product, to the new NXT. Having someone veteran like Nakamura there, 2-time NXT champion. Man, still over with that crowd, with the NXT crowd. It's like he never left that brand. This is Nakamura's first appearance in NXT since 2017, when he lost to Bobby Roode on NXT Takeover Orlando, and then following that he had a. Actually, no, this is not it. There was a thing he had. It's going to the main roster. He did a send-off on NXT. That was the last time we saw him on NXT. After the match, D'Angelo tells Stacks that he showed guts and tells him he's proud of him. So he earned the respect of Tony D'Angelo, because hanging with Nakamura is not an easy task to do. We go backstage. We have Axiom, which is for the former A-Kid, and Nathan Frazier discussing their best of 3 series. Axiom says that he'll be cheering him on at Halloween Havoc in the North American Championship ladder match. Von Wagner, because walking vacuum himself, Von Wagner walks in with Robert Stone. Basically makes fun of them for being independent wrestlers. Because how well did that work out with Braun Strowman? Next up we got Alba Fire. Actually, I'm not calling her that. Screw that. It's Kaylee Ray. Comes out for a match with Sonya Deville, who comes out with Toxic Attraction, JC Jane, and Gigi Dolan. The bell rings. You lock up. Deville slaps Kaylee Ray before Ray delivers a headbutt. She follows it up with back elbow. Then descends to the middle rope. Deville trips her before hitting a kick before they go for the pin. Ray kicks out. Deville whips Kaylee Ray into the corner, but Kaylee Ray comes back with several chops. Then hits a knee. Then climbs up the top rope. Gigi Dolan gets on the tries to trip Kaylee Ray on the top turnbuckle before getting in the ring. As Deville charges at her, Kaylee Ray pulls Gigi Dolan in front of DeVille, and DeVille hits him with a running knee. She follows it up with a roll up, and Kaylee Ray wins with a roll up. Basically, is what happened. After the match, Toxic Attraction and DeVille start beating up Kaylee Ray. The music, Mandy Rose comes out. She returns after what happened last week. Again, shout out to Mandy Rose. She lost her brother last week, so my thoughts and prayers again go out to Mandy Rose and her family. And Rose says that she made the wrong decision by abducting her last week. She says that she'll be more cautious and vicious at Halloween Havoc. Then heads to the ring. While she's talking, Kayla Ray was beating the shit out of Toxic Attraction and Gigi and Tony DeVille, which is great. Then she starts doing the same thing to Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose rolls out the ring. While it's going on, Kayla Ray holds the Women's Championship up. I'm hoping that's not a sign that she's losing on Saturday. I hope not. Then we head backstage. We see Wesley and I'll just call him Oro. They are getting ready for their match, but Lee thanks Oro for helping him last week before Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams comes in, starts beating the shit out of them. Four men continue to brawl to the ring. And next up, we got a tag match. Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams win after Carmelo hits a split leg drop kick off the top rope for the win. Nothing really much to write home about. This also leads, Oro and Wesley and Carmelo Hayes, Wesley, and Oro, not Oreo. God damn it! Don't hate me for that one. That was a slip up on me. They're going to be in the North American title ladder match at the Halloween Havoc. After the match, Hayes and Williams launch an attack on Oro and Wesley. The two men fight back and manage to take down Williams, but Hayes goes flying over the top rope, take them out. Von Wagner comes out because he needs to just kill the mood for everybody, and just lays out everybody. That's all I got there. We see a video from the Schism ahead of their match with Cameron Grimes and OC. Boy, I don't like what they did to the Grizzled Young Veterans. But next up, we get an interview with Bron Breakker and Mackenzie Mitchell. Bron Breakker says that he's finished what he says that he finished what Dragunov started, and says that he can either go around them or through them. Then we got the Schism versus Cameron Grimes and the OC. Cameron Grimes and the OC win after the Good Brothers hit Magic Killer. At one point, Vic Joseph, I'm actually very happy that he acknowledged this. Vic Joseph and acknowledged in a way that Carl Anderson is still the IWGP Never Openweight Champion. Still don't know what the ruling is on that. If they're going to reschedule that match with Hikuleo or not. New Japan hasn't said anything, but we'll find out in a couple of weeks. So who knows with that. Next up, we had a backstage promo with Veer. Mahan Veer has come to NXT. Veer is talking like a normal human being, which makes me very, very happy to hear. Mahan says, "Everyone wants to know everyone's business, but the world will not get an answer he whispered into the ear of Sanga's ear." He says it was just for Sanga. Sanga walks in and says, "I'm ready to listen." Then we get a video package, or we get a video hyping up Katana Chance, Casey Catanzaro, Kane Carr, Zoe Starks, and Akita Lyons ahead of their match next week for the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. And then we see all four of them in a conference room. They sign a contract for next week. Kane Carr says, "Well, you're not going to win the tag titles," and say they will be the better team and will win next week. Back from break, Vic Joseph throws it to a satellite between Julius Creed and Damon Kemp ahead of their ambulance match at Halloween Havoc. Basically, these two are basically saying, "I'm gonna beat your ass" and all that stuff, and it's not gonna be a wrestling match. It's gonna be a fight. The whole story with that is, from what I understand, if Kemp wins, Julius's brother is fired. If Julius wins, I don't actually know what the stipulation of that is. So we head to Alicia Tyler, who's in the ring, introduces the host for Halloween Havoc. Out comes the returning Shotzi Blackheart to NXT, a former NXT Women's Tag Team Champion. I think that's about it on that side. Shotzi grabs a mic and says there's only one superstar that screams Halloween, and it's her. She says that she's hosted Halloween Havoc in 2020, and this Saturday they will go balls to the wall. She says her final piece of the costume will come this Friday when her and Raquel Rodriguez win the women's tag team titles from Damage Control. Out comes Zion Quinn. He heads to the ring. He offers to be her co-host and please his case. Quincy Elliott comes out. He's completely does the same thing that Quinn did. Shotzi then tells him, "Well, if you two are about to have a match, how about it's going to be for who's going to be the co-host to Halloween Havoc?" And Quincy Elliott quickly defeats Zion Quinn. He will co-host with Shotzi Blackheart. Elliott delivers the Diva Drop for the win. That's all I have to say about that. Next up, got a hilarious a hilarious segment with Andre Chase and Andre Chase is he's grown on me. I like Andrew Chase. He's great. So Andre Chase goes over the history of Halloween Havoc, talks about the terrible things that happened on that. The good things, like, the very first Halloween Havoc, Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio at Halloween Havoc '97, Goldberg and DDP, and then the shit that they came up with, the Yeti, and then Chambers of Horror, which is great. Chucky then pops up on the screen. Says that the Mickey Mouse, this calls him the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Hayward gets a verbal exchange with Chucky, which is not a good idea because Andre's like, yeah, you probably don't want to do that. Chucky basically says he's going to cut his dick off and some other things. That's all I caught from that. and Thea Hale was like, what the fuck? So it was funny stuff. Raquel Rodriguez hits the ring for her match with Cora Jade. Cora Jade basically gets her ass beat for most of this match against Raquel Rodriguez. Cora Jade wins by disqualification when Raquel Rodriguez starts beating her up with a freaking baseball bat. After the match, Roxanne Perez attacks Jade from behind, kicks her in the back, where Jade escapes through and retreats. Commentary then runs down the card for the Saturday's Extreme Rules Halloween Havoc. Kevin Owens' music hits. It's main event time. We have the ending segment here with Bron Breakker, Ilja Dragunov, and JD McDonagh. Kevin Owens just basically buries JD McDonagh, look me up, or JD McDonagh me or something like that. It was pretty funny. He basically says, "No one talks like that, dude. Why are you such a creep?" and all that stuff. This ends with a brawl with Ilja Dragunov standing tall. So again, much like earlier on the night where we saw Kaylee Ray hold the NXT Women's Championship, Ilja Dragunov does the same here. And hopefully that also doesn't mean... Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind Bron Breakker retaining here, because I don't think Bron Breakker should be on the main roster yet. But I would like to see a new NXT champion at some point. Afterwards, Austin Theory's music comes out, and I'm like, what? So what happens here is as Austin Theory teases to cash in his briefcase on the NXT Championship, and I kept wondering to myself for months now when they decided when Vince decided to put the Money in the Bank briefcase. I'm pretty sure if Triple H was in charge, he would have not put the briefcase on Austin Theory. He would have put it on Seth Rollins. When Austin Theory won the briefcase, I'm like, how the fuck are they going to have him get the briefcase off of him? Because he's not beating Roman Reigns. And it looks like Triple H and Shawn Michaels have come out with the way to do that. And it looks like it's going to be on NXT. I'm okay with him cashing in the Money in the Briefcase on NXT. And if he wins or loses, I don't care. I prefer him to win the NXT title so I can have him not on Raw and SmackDown anymore. So that was the NXT enjoyable show. From what I've seen of the new NXT, it was an enjoyable show. I like Andre Chase. I like Roxanne Perez. Those are some things I like. I do like Wesley. Cameron Grimes. I love Cameron Grimes. I like Carmella Hayes too. Taylor Ray is one of my favorite women that come out of NXT UK. I like Tony D'Angelo. Not as much as everybody else. Don't really care for Grayson Waller. Ilja Dragunov's great. Bron Breakker's great. I used to like JD McDonagh. For obvious reasons, I don't like him anymore. But that was NXT. So what's going to happen this week? Unfortunately, sorry you guys didn't get to see a Raw review. Just wasn't feeling it. It wasn't that Raw was bad. It just wasn't personally myself. I wasn't feeling it. We got some new things going on for the paper for not the pay-per-view I'm going to review, but we got more matches added for Ground Jewel. Like I said, we have the OC versus Judgment Day that's going to happen the same day that Carl Anderson has a title defense. Still don't know how they're going to pull that off. We have Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley 2. We also set up other potential matches here. We have a potential Raw Women's Championship match between Bianca Belair and Bayley. We have Seth Rollins possibly defending the title against Mustafa Ali. Possibly The Miz versus Johnny Gargano, because Johnny Gargano knows the secret, and I'm excited to see where that's going to go. Possibly Bray Wyatt's going to wrestle on that show. Who knows? We got SmackDown this week. More stuff to the Bray Wyatt stuff that's going to happen. And I believe that's all that was actually announced for SmackDown. But yeah, that was it. That's all I have to talk about here tonight. If you like what you saw here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, bell notification, comment down below. I forgot to mention all of this at the beginning of the show. Also, follow social media at Misfit Wrestle TV. You can also look us up on Instagram, Misfit Wrestling Pod, and on the other social media that I don't really use that much, which is Facebook, Misfit Wrestling Podcast, and all the other outlets that you can find us at. I will be doing Mario will be having a Halloween Havoc preview and predictions. Friday, you're going to have the SmackDown review. Saturday, a Halloween Havoc review. I should point out this is not going to be a weekly thing for me when it comes to NXT. Tonight, like I said, was a special occasion. Don't expect an NXT review next week because you're not going to get one. If I need to, I'll talk about NXT during the AEW review. Until then, I've been Matt the Misfit. We're out.